So you've taken an interest in Magic the Gathering, but how do I play? What are all these cards? Fear not. This video is going to go through and break down the complexity that is Magic in a very simple and easy to remember way so that you can go through and enjoy your beginning games of Magic the Gathering. But before we get into the technical details about cards and how to play them, I want to talk to you about where to play. First and foremost, hopefully you have some friends that already play this great game, and hopefully they're willing and patient enough to teach you how to play. It can take some time, so it's very important to find a very patient friend. And if your friends need some help figuring out how to be patient with you, there's going to be a link in the description for an article that I wrote about how to actually go about teaching a friend to play Magic. Barring that, you can head out to a local game store or an LGS, and hopefully there'll be a willing and able Magic player that's interested in teaching a new player. So generally that'll be like a store manager or just some other player at that area. There'll be another link in the description for how to find a local game store. And last but not least, there's Duels of the Planeswalkers, which is a slimmed down digital version of Magic the Gathering available to you on any system. Wizards of the Coast puts this out annually, so you can check out the 2012 or 2013 version, which are really good. There's also a Duels Origins version coming out fairly soon that you can check out. It shows a lot of promise with their tutorial system. But we've got a lot to talk about, so let's get to it. So all games of Magic start with at least 2 decks shuffled and set with the brown side up. These are the libraries. You randomly pick a player to go first, and then each player draws the first 7 cards from their library. And this is where the fun begins. There are 2 major categories of cards that we need to talk about: permanents and non-permanents. Succinct to say, a permanent will stay on the battlefield once you've played it from your hand, and a non-permanent will have some effect and then be discarded, or go to what we call the graveyard. So how do you know which is which? On the face of the card, there's a lot of information, but all we're concerned about right now is the middle line in between the picture, that's at the top, and the text box. This is the line we call the type line, and it's where you look to figure out what type of card it is. If a card is a permanent, it will say one of the following: artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. So as the name implied, permanents, once they are played, stay in play. You can use them turn after turn until the game is over. Non-permanents, on the other hand, will be something like instant in the type line or sorcery. Once these are played, they go right to the graveyard. No type of card is necessarily better than the other, with the exception of lands, but this is still a constant debate among all walks of Magic player. So we figured out what types of cards are in our hands. Now how do we play them? First, we need to have access to one specific type of permanent: lands. Lands are like money in Magic the Gathering, but better. Once we use the money in our wallets, it goes away. It never comes back. But lands, you get to use once per turn. It's like every day you're given $1 to use, so you use it, and after 24 hours you get to use the same dollar again. If only. In Magic, the rule is you play 1 land per turn without having to do anything else. And here's where the mythos kicks in. You're a planeswalker, and to do all the nifty things you do, first you need to draw your mana or your energy from these lands. Lands are the only card that don't have any symbols or numbers in their top right corner, with some exceptions, and there are 5 basic types. You have plains, islands, swamps, mountains, and forests. Each type of basic land gives you access to 1 color of mana: white, blue, black, red, and green. And each type has an iconic symbol to represent them: sun, water, skull, fire, and tree. All the other cards will have some combination of symbols and numbers which tells us their mana cost. When a symbol appears, it means you need to draw mana from one of those specified types to cast a spell. The numbers mean you can use any color, but you need that specific quantity. In order to cast any spell, you need to have both the number and the symbols represented by lands in order to play the spell. So casting a spell. First, we announce it and reveal it from our hand. Then we pay its cost by tapping our lands. You gotta turn them sideways 90 degrees. And then it's cast. Woo! The spell will have its effect and go to the graveyard unless it's one of our permanents, like a creature. Creatures we cast to attack, block, or use special abilities they may have. They are permanents, so we only pay their cost, the thing in the top right, once, and they stay in play. Before we can use most creatures' special abilities or attack with them, they have to be in play when our turn starts, or before we draw a card. If we get attacked by another creature, we can choose to block with any creature on our battlefield that isn't tapped anyways, even when we just played. So attacking is pretty simple, but often new players make attacking much more complicated than it needs to be. When you attack, you decide which creatures you wish to attack with, tap them, again, turn them sideways, and see what your opponent does. Attacking is always done towards an opponent or planeswalker they control. And whoever gets attacked decides if they want to block if they have any available creatures. In the bottom right of every creature card, there are two numbers. The number on the left is a creature's power, or how much damage it deals in combat. The number on the right is a creature's toughness, or how much damage it can take before it dies. If a creature attacks and is blocked, it deals damage to the blocking creature only. So how much damage? Whatever its power is. So say we attack with a 4/4 creature, and our opponent blocks with a 2/2 creature. The creatures will deal damage to each other equal to their power. Our 4/4 deals 4 damage, all to the 2/2. The 2/2 deals 2 damage back to our 4/4, and then the 2/2 dies a horrible death. We're almost through the cards. Enchantments and artifacts we can use as soon as they're cast, unless they also happen to be creatures, and they are permanents, so they stay in play until they're destroyed. These two types of cards have a very wide variety of effects and abilities. Some of them can win you the game by themselves, and some do practically nothing. Last but not least are the Planeswalkers. Planeswalkers are rare and powerful mages that you can summon to help you achieve victory. They are permanents, but not creatures. Really, casting a Planeswalker is like summoning another person during the game and teaming up against your opponent. Planeswalker cards have one number in their bottom right. This is their starting loyalty, which you can think of as their life points. You can use one Planeswalker ability during your turn, like playing a land. The abilities themselves have a plus, minus, or 0 before their text, which is the loyalty cost for using the ability. Some abilities increase the loyalty while others decrease the loyalty, and it's up to you which to use when. Of course, if the Planeswalker doesn't have enough loyalty to cover a minus cost, you can't use that ability. A full game of Magic is played by players taking subsequent turns. Each turn is a specific sequence to play. You untap any permanents you might have tapped the turn previous. You pay upkeep costs of anything that might need to be taken care of. That doesn't come up often, though. And then you draw a card. Then you'll have an opportunity to cast any spells you want or creatures before combat. Declare who you want to attack, if you want to attack at all. Maybe cast some spells after combat. And then you end your turn. Then it goes to your opponent's turn. They do the same thing. And then it comes back to you. And you go back and forth until you get to the final goal of the game. The goal of our game is to get our opponent's life total, which starts at 20, to 0, or make them draw out their entire library before either of those things happen to us. Most often, and especially when starting out, this will happen by attacking with creatures. But as we get deeper into the game, we'll find cool combination of cards that let us win without even attacking. So go grab any number of friends and sling some cardboard. In other videos, we'll explore the many ways to play, how to play better, and how playing the game itself can teach you about things outside of Magic. So like, comment, and ask a question below, and be sure to subscribe to stay on this magical journey.